Welcome everyone, it is week 15 here at the Overwatch League. ZP here with Jake, and with the May Melee looming, Jake, things are starting to heat up.
Exactly, ZP. I think this is such an important month, I would say especially for the teams that have had a bit of a rocky start this season of the Overwatch League, but have now started to find their footing. You know, this is the moment you make up for lost time, that you recover on some of that ground that teams like the Philly Fusion, the SF Shock, that have just kind of leapt ahead of the pack. You do not want to let them take the win here and move even further ahead. You really want to be, solving those standing problems that have been extant since the beginning of the season.
And this is also where, if you're a team, you can grab essentially a mid-season crown, where you can go, hey, at this point in time, for the season, we were the best. And it's something that the teams are definitely going to be playing very heavily for, and it's going to be exciting to see develop. And the matches coming up this weekend, very important for deciding seeding for all of that.
Yeah, and when it comes to seeding, that's critically important going into the May tournament. You do not want to be a team in that 12th, 13th place spot, competing just for a chance to play in the tournament. Then you have to play another match against a tougher team back to back. That's a really rough place to be. So, every team wants to be pushing their seeding. If they can only get it above 12th, 13th, that's progress. But even if you're in that lower half, that could also be painful. You could be selected by one of those top teams as a first-round opponent, and I don't think any team is really looking forward to that.
No, not at all. And when you look at the standings here, if you're in the top, you get to choose your opponent from the bottom in order from the top. So if you're the number one team, you get your pick of the litter pretty much. And then if you're at the bottom, the interesting part there between the 12th and 13th spot is that there's a one-game playoff to decide if you even get into the tournament at all. So the stakes are pretty high across the board.
Yeah, and being forced to play an elimination game, it's such a mentally tough place to be, because even if you manage to win that elimination game, you just have tougher matches ahead, and it feels like you haven't made any progress. You've just gotten level to where other teams, had already put themselves. So I think right now, especially for teams like Houston and Vancouver that have been struggling a little bit as of late, getting a win here makes a huge difference in terms of that May tournament. Just giving yourself every advantage you can coming into the actual tournament going live.
Yeah, and you take a look at the standings, Vancouver and Houston both on the bottom, which is why this matchup between the two today so important for both franchises. And I think for Vancouver, they're coming in with an interesting look because obviously the team has had a bunch of turnover. You have a bunch of players rising up from contenders, and they're very optimistic about things. And to that, we had some time to talk with Shredlock. Let's see what he has to say.
This weekend now has been a bit stressful. All things considered, we're a new team entering the league in the middle of the season, so needless to say, we're definitely behind. But talking to the fans has really alleviated some of that stress. So thanks to all the fans supporting us out there. And all in all, a bit of a stressful week, but I'm enjoying myself so far.
Jake, in a lot of ways, I feel like Vancouver is kind of playing with the house money here, where the pressure is off in the beginning. People understand that this is a team that's getting used to Overwatch League level play, so the players can be pretty optimistic about their chances.
Yeah, I would say that is true, that these players, that's how they should be approaching things. Don't put the pressure on yourself. Give yourself time to improve. But since they've been going against, I would say, some of the less strong teams so far in the league, at least in North America, that I think there actually is at least a little bit of pressure here, right? Like, if you start losing to all the teams that have already been, below that midpoint in the standings, or or near the bottom of the standings, and you're getting solidly defeated to them, by them rather, like for example against the Washington Justice, yeah, there's a few weeks of leeway, so I'm not worried about the short-term results. But as time goes on, playoffs start to loom larger and larger, and I don't think these players are going to be satisfied with just being in the league and having really bad performances, right? They want to prove themselves as competitors that who can actually perform at the top level. So give this team time to gel, but at the same time, they still need to be putting up results, with time.
Yeah, I mean, particularly look at the starting roster, though. I have to think that players like Dalton are going to be coming into their own as time goes on. A player that was grinding for a long time to make it up here into the Overwatch League, who just untapped potential, but now they're going to have to show it against the opposition. They're up against the Houston Outlaws. Quite the opposite here, Jake, where the Outlaws, a team full of veterans and a team that really the pressure is on.
Yeah, and especially for the team that, they've picked up so many superstars this offseason, adding players like Meko and Blase, who I would specifically highlight as really being superstars for Houston. Jexa as well on the main support, also leading the team with those main calls. These things have been huge boosts to Houston this season, but so far it hasn't quite been enough to give them the opening that they would really have been hoping for, at least as far as the standings are concerned. So this May tournament could be a huge moment for them to make up for lost time and regain some of that ground. But at the same time, it's also a moment where they could fall further behind if they haven't brought it together just yet.
Now, the interesting thing in the lineup here, where you're looking at, you're just wondering, wait, what is that? What is going on? Your eyes do not deceive you. That's Hydration in as main tank, and it's not as crazy as you might think, where even though Muma has been the longtime main tank for the Houston Outlaws, Hydration, many teams in the offseason were seeking him out potentially for the main tank role because he just showed the versatility to swap between roles, and a lot of people liked him on main tank, and looking for at least the first map here today, we're going to get to see it.
Yeah, Hydration has always been, in my eyes, an extremely intelligent player, and that was really always his definitive strength. Even on DPS, tank, whatever he's playing. So I think the main tank role is actually naturally suited for that. You want those strategically minded players there who can guide the team and shape the fight according to your team's game plan, according to your desire. So what I will say about this Hydration being in the roster, to me, it says that Houston's going to stay away from compositions that focus on Reinhardt and Winston. I'd be pretty surprised if they bring those heroes out in a significant way for Hydration, given that those are really the main tank specialist heroes. But where Hydration, I think, is really, really strong and an effective player is on the Sigma, on the Hammond, these heroes that almost straddle the gap between a main tank and some of the more bruising-oriented DPS that I think just make them a little bit more of a natural for Hydration to pick up without as much practice time.
So first map we're going to be kicking things off on here today will be Busan, and between these two teams, how do you see this breaking down, particularly with Hydration coming out here in the main tank role? For the Outlaws, how do they approach this?
I think there's a couple ways they could approach it. The first would be to put Neko on, a bread and butter, give him D.Va or something like that, along with Hydration's Wrecking Ball, play a dive-based style. I think that would make a lot of sense. Busan is a great map for Wrecking Ball, suits it well, so you can play those dive styles. I think another way to approach it, though, might be a Sigma, based around like a Sigma, and then you can put Meko on one of those more main tank-oriented roles because, he is actually pretty experienced on all the tanks, despite being more of an off-tank main. You could also, mix up the Sigma and the Hammond. We've seen some teams try stuff like that. So I think there's actually a lot of different looks that Houston could bring, and that's part of the reason why they have Hydration in, for that flexibility and that unpredictability.
So we're loading into game in just a moment here. And for the Vancouver side, I'm not quite sure what to expect. I mean, there have been times where things like the meta contenders have been pretty different from the meta that we've seen in Overwatch League. The Titans, of course, also dealing with hero pools where things swap up week to week. So I think we'll know a lot more about the Titans' playstyle just after even the first round.
Yeah, if I'm the coaches for the Vancouver Titans right now, I would advocate for them to just keep it simple. Play a classic style like that Reaper Rush comp that I was predicting in my hero pool video. Could be pretty strong this week. No Mei, no Orisa to slow you down, no Moira to evade you. So those heavy Rush comps might be pretty strong. But at the same time, it's possible that these teams might bring out a different look. With right now Dalton showing on the Echo, Tsuna on the Soldier, I'd be a little bit surprised if this is the composition that the Vancouver Titans choose to roll out with. But it's it's control. People always perma-troll in the spawn. Very interesting though, Hydration showing the Reinhardt, so maybe I'm wrong about that main tank preference.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily expected the Outlaws to come out here with Hydration on the Reinhardt, but the gates are opening and that appears to be exactly what we are about to see. Titans, meanwhile, on the other side, right? The Winston. So the Titans going to be far more aggressive here, Jake.
Both teams valuing the Echo, but Linkser on the Widowmaker. He's going to have a lot of space to work with unless Shredlock can get on him and shut him down. Soldier and Echo aren't the best heroes at challenging a Widow on this map. A lot of wide open spaces. Houston gets really aggressive to start the fight.
Houston moving their way in. Linkser finds Roof, but immediately pays the price. Both teams 5-on-5. Dalton waiting in the back to get healed. Shredlock moving on forward, taking the opportunity, forcing the Outlaws back just a little bit. Shredlock now going to disengage a bit. Tsuna, though, caught. Both teams back and forth to start things out.
Yeah, that shot by Linkser, that couldn't be more impactful. He was instantly getting bursted down, but he somehow picks off Rule, and that's a huge game changer in this fight. No more Discord Orb to focus down these big tanks for the Outlaws, and they're cleaning up this fight easily. Hydration doing really well in this Rhine, but I really want to call back to that Linkser pick. I'm pretty sure he saved the mid-fight there. Everyone on the Vancouver Titans, all these mobile heroes dived onto the Widowmaker. But somehow, Linkser finds the Zen in that crucial moment. If he doesn't find that pick, I'm not sure Rolf goes down at all. And with the Discord, I think it would be a lot easier to take down Hydration and Meko in the fight. So props to Linkser under pressure in the toughest situation a Widow can be in, and somehow kills the most important target. So huge pick off by Houston, gets in the opening point and the pick.
Outlaws start out first, control the Titans, rolling back on over. And for the Outlaws right now, they can just play a little bit further back, Jake. Just play around Linkser, play around the McCree, and he gets Tsuna early! And that's already going to put the Titans in a really tough spot, likely a regroup.
What a nice setup by Jexa and Hydration. Hydration runs down mid. He doesn't have the speed boost because Jexa's on the flank, but they still work together by Jexa booping Rolf into that Reinhardt hammer, which is actually a huge play because Vancouver were doing a great job hiding on the edge of the map from that amplification matrix, and that's Houston winning a fight with only the amp matrix invested. Very efficient fight win. And Rolf especially very far behind on that Transcendence. So, for instance, when Meko has that Gravitic Flux ready, there's not really a clear counter on the side of the Vancouver Titans.
Titans gonna have primal edge for the next fight. Dante just again delaying, applying more pressure on the bottom, forcing a little bit of a rotation here from the Titans, and starting to run out of time. 61% to the Outlaws here so far. The Titans go for a longer rotation, still getting poked as they look to move in. Linkser, their line of sight, going for the Deadeye. Suna already out of the fight, and Jake, it's been a tough day to run legs.
Yeah, the copied Primal does get shut down. Rolf trancing in. Vancouver, they need to commit to this fight, and at this point, they need a fight win. Hydration caught in the corner. They're probably going to fall. Huge shatter, though, and the Immortality Field keeping him up. He's getting so much value in the corner.
That was all Repel. Repel times the Immortality Field. Keeps Hydration alive just long enough to drop the shatter, and that's enough to keep the Outlaws in the fight. Now 92% to 0. The Titans, they're just in a rough spot now. Now they're looking for emergency delay, hoping for any form of miracle, but it doesn't appear to be happening. The Outlaws are in very firm control.
These tanks are so painfully low. Shredlock just can't get healed up. Tactical Visor from Suna could open things up. Dante falls, and this could be a moment for Suna to start taking control of the point. Hydration doing a great job delaying with the heals, and Jexa boosts Dalton off the map!
Ooh, not something we see happen to an Echo all that often. And the Outlaws right now, just easy clean up. The Titans, again, trying to do anything to keep the contest, but at this point, very likely about to be gone. Suna, some last moment heroics, but a little bit too little, too late. The Outlaws, very dominant round one, Jake.
And I have to say how wrong I was about Hydration. You know, I thought he'd be sticking more to those bread and butter sort of DPS-esque tanks, but he totally didn't. He performed really well on the Rhine, working well around the team. You know, he didn't have to go for any sort of super heroic plays. In this sense, he's not taking the Rhine mirror, which is, I think, where that main tank pressure really gets put on heavily. But at the same time, performing well, finding nice shatters, not overextending. Hydration looking really solid on the main tank, and Houston with a 100-0 to open it up. You can't ask for better than that. And also, I think what happened with Jexa and that Echo copy from Dalton, I think Dalton was actually still in the Sigma copy. So when he got booped off the map, he actually couldn't use his flight ability. So there's a little bit of a vulnerability included with switching to a hero without that flight.
I have to ask you now, something that many people are probably wondering. Is the Soldier 76 a good idea?
You know, I'm not so much of a fan this week. You know, you've got all the hit scan in the pool, so why pick Soldier? You know, the sprint could be a little bit valuable, but when you get slammed by Hammond, there's no ability to sprint, right? You need to be in contact with the ground, and I feel like Linkser's going to have a bit of an edge on this Ashe, but he could prove me wrong, could get a ton of value on Heal Station.
The Outlaws going to be playing this a little bit slower. They're running the Hammond, but on the same note, they need to keep Linkser protected in the back. So definitely a slower setup for the Outlaws here so far. Titans looking for a way in. And Repel under very heavy pressure to start things out. Dalton was able to get in on him. And now Titans working on command advantage. Dalton can get away. Gets Jexa for good measure. And even though he falls, the damage has been done.
Yeah, that's a massive dive by Shredlock and Dalton coming together to pick off that backline, making that mid fight look easy. I don't think that was really the Soldier versus Ashe difference. For me, that was more just on Dalton and Shredlock finding that initial opening. Hydration and Dante just weren't able to keep up in that instance with high ground control going to the Vancouver Titans. A little bit more difficult to dive them in that position than the Outlaws in the lower right, but Dante finds a hack onto Shredlock. Shredlock might be falling here. No, he gets saved by his team.
Does feed Dante a lot of ult charge, and at least Dante right now is getting things done because this has been a pretty dry round for Linkser so far. Only 30%. Hasn't been able to find the angles on the Ashe just yet. The Outlaws, though, trying to move on in. Dante holding the MP, but he was hacked, taken on down. Shredlock finishes him off. That was a huge heads-up play by Dalton. Outlaws, though.
So painful for Dante to not be able to get his EMP off after charging in faster. That advantage a bit nullified, but Dalton does fall, which means he won't be able to catch up so easily.
Transcendence in here for the Titans as they look to keep control. The Outlaws still pressuring even through the Transcendence. Suna under fire in the back. Tac Visor not really doing a whole lot offhand. The Outlaws almost fully regrouped. Dante holding on to the EMP. Shredlock down, though. So the Outlaws might not need to use that just yet as they look to retake control. But the problem is the Titans are continuing to delay here, Jake. They have not given up the point just yet.
Yeah, and with Rally almost online, this could be a potential turning point. KSAA does fall, though, while casting the ultimate. So Going to be no D.Va in this fight. Linkser on the flank. That's a crucial kill. Now he's going to have a lot of space here to work with.
Linkser needs to do more, looking for the Brigida on the other side. And the Outlaws finally grind their way through, but that was really nice delay coming in from Vancouver. They bought themselves a very significant amount of time, and now it's up to the Outlaws to respond.
Yeah, and with the Outlaws investing both support ults into that fight, they don't have a clear counter to this EMP from Dalton, so Jackson and Repel need to be very cautious. If they get caught by this EMP, it's going to be curtains for them, and without a backline, Hydration's Mines, I don't think they're going to have too much impact this fight. Rolf with his Transcendence online very, very soon.
Dalton, EMP ready to go. Vancouver looking for the way in. EMP dropped, hits 3. Dante immediately taken down, takes a Helix Rocket right after. And now the Titans in a very good spot to retake. I don't think Houston can do much about it. And the Titans, again, gaining progress once more. And that puts the Outlaws in a one-fight margin.
Yeah, they're going to have to retake here. Ooh, that's a huge pick by Linkser, though. That opening is going to not only let him deal more damage, and with KSA low and no prospects to get healed, this is a key fight for the Outlaws. Linkser picks off another. This should be a quick take with only the Transcendence invested.
Linkser with one pick after the other, getting the Outlaws back into the fight. This is exactly what they needed, but all the while, Vancouver still gets a little bit more delay, puts themselves in a spot where one more good team fight win might spell the end, so the Outlaws still need to be perfect for the rest of the map.
Yeah, I think the critical ultimate here is going to be that Bob from Linkser. They need to protect it, make sure it doesn't get attacked, but as I say, Linkser's dropping very low. Lucky he's able to get saved by his teammates. But it's going to be, most likely, the minefield from Hydration is going to get countered by Rolf's Transcendence, but that should leave a bit of an opening for Bob. Same time, Suna with Attack Visor could be the difference maker.
Titans right now know they have a little bit of time, but that's not something they can rely on for long. You see the front line going in, Suna still in the back, just applying pressure. The Outlaws, meanwhile, hanging back on their own. Dante trying to build EMP. Linkser hanging on to the Bob. And Suna right now, just laying damage from afar. Shredlock, though, gets caught. He's a little bit far out. And now the Outlaws very, very close to securing this round. The Titans are in real danger if they can't reset soon.
Yeah, and here's where the value of that Ashe really comes into play. Linkser just dealing so much more damage. Big EMP from Dante, picks off Rolf. Rolf not able to get the Transcendence off, and with time ticking low, I'm not sure Vancouver's going to get an opportunity to touch point here.
This is great killer instinct coming in from the Outlaws. They saw they had an advantage, they went for the EMP, they took down the Zen, and they just take the Titans out of the fight, out of the map. The Outlaws take map 1.
Yeah, that round started to look better for the Vancouver Titans, but a couple crucial mistakes. Shredlock getting hacked and picked off by Dante, I think really turned that round just completely the other way. Rolf was trying to hold Transcendence in the face of Hydration's minefield, but you almost have to wonder, would it have been better to just invest that ult, push aggressively? Linkser just did so much more when he was holding point. The Ashe dealing way more damage than Soldier 76 is able to put out. I really think the Soldier is only getting more value when you're dropping that big heal station on, 4 or 5 players, getting a ton of value off of it. When you're just in that raw grind game, just dealing damage to tanks, Ashe has a huge edge there. So I think the Outlaws played to their strengths and were able to take the map because of it.
Yeah, not only that, I think for Vancouver, when they did have an advantage, they're a little bit tentative. They didn't push it, and the Outlaws, meanwhile, you saw the exact opposite. They chased it down, they finished out the map. But the Titans, they still have a few more maps left to go to see if they can make this into a series. We'll be right back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Houston making a bold change in main tank against Vancouver, and so far, Jake, it appears to be working. Houston looking very, very good in map 1.
Yeah, with Hydration in the roster, I think there were a couple momentary hiccups. Hydration, especially in the second round, having a couple just moments where he didn't seem perfectly comfortable, but the team had such great overall synergy that it didn't really matter, and I think that's really emblematic of the nature of the main tank position. What's so important is the coordination, is working together with your squad in making plays, you know, with everyone's value in mind, and that's where Hydration, I think, really shined. Surprisingly, especially on the Reinhardt, with great coordination, great plays, and even a huge fatty shaddy coming in for Hydration. So proving me wrong when I thought that, you know, he was going to be more limited to the off-tank variety of tanks. No, performing well on the Rhine, which is a huge opener for Houston, and showcases a new look that they can continue to make use of going on into the season potentially.
And then I look over to the other side, Jake, and I do wonder if Vancouver was kind of beating themselves to a degree where they ran in with the Soldier 76 composition. And look, I love legs as much as anyone else, but I don't know if that was really the right play for that first map.
Yeah, you know, going back to what I was on earlier, I think the Soldier, the only way to really get ahead of a hero like Ashe is to make use of the heal station. You know, the Helix Rocket and Soldier's primary, they're fine tools, but you're just not keeping up with a hero like Ashe, you know, mid-range damage dealing. It can't possibly be done, especially against a player like Linkser, you know, who is so sharp with those headshots. So I think if Vancouver wants to play that hero, it might work, but they need to be way more aggressive. They need to be grouping up on the heal station, you know, fighting on point together. Instead, Dalton played passively at the back line, sort of mirroring Linkser's position, but Linkser just gets way more value. And if we look back to the first round, I think highlighting, you know, more so than Vancouver's mistakes, just Houston playing really well. Everyone from Houston was putting out. You know, Linkser got dove right at the start of mid, somehow comes up with a kill on the Zen. Hydration getting a ton of pressure on him, somehow comes up with a big shatter, backed up by Repel with a huge save. And then Jexa basically cleans up the round, boops the Sigma copy off the map, killing Echo and the copy at the same time. Massive impact from him, and then some more cleanup frags. So Houston looking really strong in the first round, and then bringing back a second round that looked pretty dire for them.
Yeah, and for the Titans, I don't know if things get particularly better as we move along here. Our next map going to be Volskaya Industries, and if you have any issues in coordination or team compositions, as you move into Assault, it's a game mode that's pretty punishing if you're lacking in either. So when I look at this series based on what we saw off map 1, I think this is going to have to be a very big turnaround for Vancouver if they do want to make this into a competitive series.
Most definitely. I think if there's any hope for the Vancouver Titans, it might be on putting more pressure on Hydration. You know, he hasn't had quite as much experience on the main tank role. He might potentially suffer from that, but we'll have to see going into the series. I mean, he had a great map 1, so this could be his moment to silence doubters. But I would say, you know, put Shredlock in a position to succeed. Give him that Rhine 1v1. You know, the true scale matchup. It's all about finding those shatters in the enemy Rhine. We'll see if Hydration can keep up, and I think it's more likely on a map like Volskaya that we'll see that sort of mirror match.
You know, it's funny, it brings back memories where there was a time in Contenders where Fisher, normally a DPS player, was on main tank for Envy. And it was scary. He was actually bodying people on main tank, and I think part of it was that he was just taking such crazy risks on main tank in a way that main tanks don't normally play, that his opposition, I think, at that point just didn't really know what to do because it was breaking all the rules, going, okay, this guy's a berserker, he's a madman, what's he going to do? And I do wonder, within a very short microcosm, if not being someone that plays main tank a whole lot can actually interfere with the opposition.
Yeah, you know, it's a role that is heavily focused on prediction and counterplay, strategic gameplay. So if you're just breaking all the rules, you might get away with things that, while technically you might say are not correct plays, they work out because people just don't expect them. But on the other hand, that can be a bit of a honeymoon phase. It won't work out forever. Once teams have a time to study you and practice, prepare for your style, that's when the true test of a main tank comes into force. So we'll have to see if this is a lasting look for the Outlaws, but they seem confident in it so far. And now Hydration on the Winston. So the second of two heroes, I'm completely eating my words, second of two heroes that I didn't think he'd play. The Outlaws just have a lot of confidence in Hydration, think he's their best main tank.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way to say it. If you look at Muma, his signature hero is Winston, so if you're not going to play Muma on Winston, you're probably not going to play him for the rest of the night. Now let's see what the Outlaws have to do here on their attack. Going into the Echo Ashe of Vancouver, and KSAA down immediately. The Outlaws with a quick pickoff, and Shredlock in real danger, just barely saved by the Immortality Field, but this is still rough to lose part of your front line so early.
Losing Sigma is pretty brutal here. We'll see if Vancouver can stabilize Karkar, taking a headshot from Linkser. Huge fly-in from Meko. Tons of pressure on his Shredlock, and he's blocked by the shield from Hydration. No heals can come in.
The Outlaws just finishing that up pretty easily. And I mean, for Vancouver, that fight was basically lost when they lost the Sigma so early. It's so difficult to fight that 5v6, especially with your front line being damaged. Now the Outlaws on the verge of saying a very, very quick time here in Volskaya.
Yeah, what a massive opener from Dante. I totally agree. That's the difference maker in that fight. Losing a hero like Sigma early, a hero that wants to generate value over the course of a very long fight. If he goes down early, that's worst case scenario. There's no way you're getting a burst of value on the hero, so you pretty much have to survive a long time to have a successful fight. Now the Outlaws coming up on a Transcendence, they could finish this off very, very quickly with a snowball. So Vancouver, they need to make a play this fight, need to get a hold so they can get some semblance of a good defense rolling.
The Outlaws right now working with a lot of tools and Transcendence up for Repel. The only thing he has to worry about here is just not using it at the incorrect time. And the Outlaws, they're just biding their time here and how to move in. Now, Hydration going to lead the way moving forward. And Repel, late on the Transcendence, doesn't get to Hydration in time. Enough to save Meko, but now down one. I don't think the Outlaws even stay.
Yeah, I think the idea there for Hydration was to commit enough to get that Primal Rage, but he just wasn't quite close enough. Maybe that's a bit of inexperience on the main tank role. Very, very difficult to dive in to heroes like the Brig and the Sigma. That's pretty much a worst case scenario for the Winston. Two heroes with stuns, both with strong defense, both can peel the Winston off them by themselves. So Suna, nice pick off onto Hydration, puts the pressure on. And now the ult advantage definitely stabilizing for Vancouver. They'll have a bit of an easier time this fight. It's more about being economical at this point. The fight should be theirs.
Vancouver just focused on draining time off the clock for now. The Outlaws looking to set up the next fight. And now they're going to dive on in. Hydration coming in from the side, Becco from the front. Linkser finds Dalton very early in the fight. And now the Outlaws, one clean pick off after the other. They've lost Repel, but this is still very winnable. Dante with the clone mid-air rock. Love to see it. Now the Outlaws with pressure on the point. It's up for the Titans to respond, but they're down so many players.
That's such a huge play from Dante. He cancels the Gravitic Flux as well. This one's not going to slam down, but he's done what he needs to do. Now, Winston's coming out, but instantly bursted out of the copy, so no Primal going to be available. We'll see if Dalton can hold. No, he's bursted down as well.
The Titans right now are looking for the Miracle. Shredlock going to drop the Shatter. Only puts Jexa on the floor. That's one, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The Outlaws already with 2 ticks, and now they're just worried about putting this one away. The Titans out of players. That is going to be a very quick time being set by the Outlaws.
Dante, we saw him in that Echo Community Tournament popping off, making plays. A lot of people were saying, well, you know, it's not a strong competition. You know, we can't say too much about his skill, but I think now we've seen he's one of the preeminent Echo players in the league. That play on the Sigma was so sick. I kind of felt like he was going to go for it when he went for the copy, but hitting that rock while you're falling through the air on a Sigma that's also flying upward, that's not an easy shot. So Dante's Tracer and Genji skills, I think, really coming into effect here on a hero like Echo. He's able to make use of that diverse hero pool and that diverse aiming style to really, really succeed and kind of carry his team there. And you also want to shout out Linkser and Hydration with the great opening dive, getting that pick off on Dalton, gave their backline the space they needed to move up on the point.
Well, I think the key thing there, too, is that just heads-up adaptive play. I think it's what's going to separate, eventually, the very best Echo players from DPS players that are playing Echo because they're told to, in the sense that it's a hero that the right answer shifts very rapidly over the course of the fight. And what you saw there, just being able to clone the Sigma to interrupt the ult, that was a heads-up play, and it was very, very intelligent in the moment. And now the Titans on the other side, this is a little bit troublesome, Jake, where the Outlaws have set a very quick time. Map 1 already didn't go your way. How do you reverse this kind of momentum swing?
It has to be a brutal offense for Vancouver. They need to sweep point A at the very least, I would say, to have any chance at matching the Outlaws' time bank. You know, the Outlaws probably could have been 1 minute faster in theory, but that's about it. I mean, 350 on the time bank is massive on the Assault game type, so the opener, you know, for Vancouver Titans, it's got to be huge. And playing against Widow, this is going to be pretty hard. We're fighting at the sort of range where Ashe is just going to get completely smoked by Widow in the duel most of the time. So Widow has a big edge here. Hydration as well, getting that nice early cleave, starting to charge his Primal. And if one pickoff can come through from Linkser, it's pretty much going to be a reset for the Titans. So they need to be perfect in this entry.
Linkser setting the tone for the Outlaws and much of the round here as the Titans look to attack. You have to look towards Linkser right now. What shots he's able to get. Dalton sticking with the Titans under very heavy pressure. Down he goes. Hydration saw the opportunity. Finishes him off, and just losing Dalton here puts the Titans in a really tough spot. They're down one already. The Outlaws now swarming in from all sides and doing it in a way that they don't really lose much in the way of health.
Yeah, really questionable movement there from Dalton, going away on his own, no ability to get supported by his team, and Hydration recognized that, immediately shuts him down, and that's exactly the pickoff I was thinking about. You know, Vancouver, now they're forced, they don't full reset, at least they control some of the map, but they can't push forward without 6 players, and this is just buying time for Hydration to get closer to that Primal. He's pretty much 1 jump away here.
Suna looking for anything to get things going, and Shredlock just falls down on the other side. Linkser gets the clean shot on the Dalton, and this is turning into destruction right now, Jake. The Titans are barely getting anything done. Late pickup on the Dante, though. That's a start.
Yeah, it gives them something to write home about, but it's not going to matter much, right? Echo has one of the faster rollouts in the game, tons of ults available for Houston, so the power play for Vancouver I don't think is going to be very high impact. And at the same time, I want to also highlight Linkser, great respect on that amplification matrix from Karkar. Everyone from the Houston Outlaws doing a great job playing around the amplification matrix and still getting value for themselves, still putting pressure on the map. And when Linkser pops this amper site, oh, it's going to be so painful to be on the Titans. How do you deal with this? Everybody has your position in a dive comp. That's so hard to deal with.
Linkser can see everything right now and takes down Suna. Why would you challenge that? Suna taking the risk. It does not pay off, and this is why the Outlaws are debating the nature of what it means to be a ninja in global chat in between fights, because of
Linkser. The Dinkser is back, I dare say. Oh, luckily Dalton shuts him down, but he pays with his life. So Linkser, I think, has done his job this fight, and now it's just full cleanup for the Outlaws, holding on to all 5 of their other ultimates. Again, another perfect fight for the Houston Outlaws. Vancouver Titans, I mean, at this point, they're in a desperate scenario. Probably going to lose the next fight to ultimate advantage. But then again, it's an explosive fight. Both teams have a lot of ults. Could break down either way. But I just feel like it's going to be really difficult to survive that primal self-destruct combo. Especially when Dante, he could become the Rhine. He could become the Sigma. Whatever he needs in the fight.
He can become anything he wants. But in particular, Reinhardt would still be a pretty good choice. Titans, meanwhile, no choice but to go directly onto the point. Suna again looking for anything to open this up. Meko in danger. This is a decent start here for the Titans. Dante, but you got Linkser on the side. Still finds Suna. Still is able to get open. And the Outlaws just slow down the pace. The Primal Rage, a bit of disruption, and no one is looking at Linkser from the back.
Linkser, we talked about him as a player, you know, last season that had started to struggle, started to have some trouble spots. You know, but I feel so excited to see him back in form. He's truly a master of a hold on the Widowmaker. These headshots are disgusting. He's won the past couple fights nearly on his own. And, you know, even that headshot onto the rallying Brig makes such a huge difference. She immediately has to put up shield, immediately has to retreat to her team. Can't risk losing that rally. So perfect plays by Linkser and another infrasight to set up the next round. Yes, the Vancouver Titans have tank ults, but how do you make use of it? The enemy knows your exact position at all times.
I think at this point, if you're the Titans, you need Suna to get an early pickoff here. Give yourself an advantage on the way in, but you're pushing into Infrasight. The Outlaws know everything that's coming, and now Repel opens with the Transcendence. The Titans warping around the left side. Shredlock, Earth Shatter ready. Now needs something big off of this Earth Shatter. Shredlock going to drop it, puts Meko on the ground, but Meko's well protected. It's not going to be much. Meanwhile, Dante, he's cloned Sigma. Dante off on the back. And with Meko down, the Outlaws just looking to pummel the Titans from all sides. The Immortality Field keeps them alive for a while. They take down Repel, and the Titans off of Dalton starting to turn this fight. Dante a little bit slow, and the Titans, perhaps they've done enough here. Linkser, though, still in the fight. Dalton swarming around. I think the Titans have this.
Oh, and Rally, I think they do, but Rolf invests a Rally there, and I think this fight was already sort of going their way, and I think a little bit of inexperience showing. They would have loved to have the Rally to snowball this round. I mean, remember, this is like a win for the Vancouver Titans. They're getting point A, but remember the time bank they're up against. You know, they're already behind in the time bank, even if they were capping second at this second. So it's going to be really brutal. They need to make a quick take on point B. Outlaws have a momentary gap in their ultimate tempo here, but if Rolfa had that Rally, that would have been the perfect opener of this fight. Now you've got DPS ults to work with. Bob could put some pressure on point. You got the copy from Dalton, so still a winnable fight, but would have been so much stronger with a nice defensive ult like Rally to get you into the point.
Vancouver needs some sort of break here, and they absolutely need to do this on the first try. Otherwise, they're just not going to have the time in an extended round battle. Dalton looking to be the crux to set things up. Duplicate is ready. Waiting and waiting right now. Time's just poking on the side. Kesehe, though, getting in real danger early on. And now the Titans, they have to slow things down. But okay, this side use Duplicate. Dalton clones the Winston, goes to the back. Meko getting focus fired again. Forced to use self-destruct early into the fight. Hydration's out of it. The Outlaws starting to reel as the Titans get a little bit of momentum, but they force the Transcendence out. The Outlaws use the Transcendence, push back into the Titans. Immortality Field out. Shredlock still in a decent spot. The Titans are fighting, but they're getting pushed off the point.
Yeah, and copy online for Dante. He's going to become the Reinhardt, start tanking for his team as Hydration moves back. But Shredlock with the pin, canceling that Echo combo. That's so huge from Shredlock, keeps him in this fight. Outlaws move through the amplification matrix to deny the value.
The Outlaws, though, trading out pretty evenly here. Shredlock's out of the fight, and just like that, the Outlaws should be repelling the Titans. And now if you're Vancouver, you look at the time bank, and you get really worried here, Jake. Only a minute 30 left. They need to finish with a little bit of time left on the clock, where the best they would be able to do here would be a draw.
Yeah, and you've got to be a fan right now of the Repel and Jex's support duo. They had great synergy in that moment, shutting down Dalton's copy on the Winston just before he gets the Primal Rage online. That's a crucial moment that allows Repel to put his Transcendence back onto the point and keep Meko fighting. Now Hydration coming up on his own Primal. It's only really Tsuna's Bob that is going to be available quickly in this fight. By Hydration, he's going to have the opening to initiate should he want to take it. And Titans, only 1 minute left on the clock. It's already looking like close to an overtime finish for them.
The Titans are in real danger. This fight must go well for them. It needs to go well quickly. Tsuna, the key part of that. Looking for a pick off in the back. Repel, for now, just staying out of line of sight. Bob, going to be thrown on over. Meko again, getting heavily focus fired early in the fight. Has to back out. Now they swap over to Dante. Hydration out of the fight, doesn't get a Primal off in time. And now the Titans have a real opportunity with time still left on the clock. 33 seconds, Repel out on the Transcendence. The Outlaws still down in players, but this is the best opportunity the Titans have had so far.
Yeah, this is their moment. It has to be. Time is ticking low. Hydration coming back with the Primal. Barely makes it to point. Needs to stay on point permanently here. He has to stall. That's really his only role here, but the self-destruct going to pick him off. Still, though, the Outlaws charging back at the point. They're desperate to get the overtime, but I don't think they're going to be able to do it. Titans finish with extra time. Such a significant finish for them there. They still have a chance on this map.
And somewhat of a misplay by the Outlaws towards the very end, where when that fight was going awry, they did not need to delay for very long. They could have shifted into more of a delay strategy there, drained the clock to 0, and completely removed any chance of the Titans being able to compete here on the map. But now you've opened the door for Vancouver, where Vancouver, if they have a very quick point A attack, something they did not have the first round, they could go forward, get point B, and suddenly you have a game. So even though the Outlaws are still favored here, I do think that they let this one get away more so than they should have.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that does rest a bit on the shoulders of Hydration on the Winston. You know, if he had gotten that Primal Rage off, Repel almost had his Transcendence online, so I think the game plan was initiate with the Primal, finish the Transcendence, Trans keeps Winston alive, keeps him fighting, and that, I think, in and of itself, would have made that stall possible. They weren't really thinking about going into a stall strategy because they still felt like the fight was winnable. But of course, with Hydration getting bursted like that, really messed up the fight. So props to Rolf with that quick stun, and Dalton and Tsuna putting out so much damage on Hydration, able to burst him down faster than he thought possible, apparently, not getting that Primal Rage off. So Vancouver, they still have a bit of hope in this round, but as you said, you know, that first offense was really painful for them. The only way they finished it was with a huge bank of ultimates. So, you know, again, Linkser finds one pick, and I think this map is just curtains for the Titans.
And the Titans have to be far more decisive in this attack. They wasted a lot of time the first time around. They barely got point A. They just need to go straight to point here and just limit the amount of time that Linkser has.
Yeah, you cannot let Hydration farm up a quick Primal. That as well would be a pretty brutal death blow here on point A. And last time we saw Shredlock just trying to touch point pretty much as a frontliner for the team, but you know, he just wasn't able to get a ton of value. And again, Linkser and Dante combined to pick off Dalton first. Shades of the first round here as Titans, they're hiding in a small room, but the Outlaws, they don't want to give them any moment of respite here.
No, this is where you finish off the Titans where they stand. And I think the problem for Dalton's trying to be the hero a little bit too much. Ends up putting himself in a tough situation, ends up falling. Now the Titans, they've managed to stall for long enough. They're going to get the 6-on-6. They get to rush out of the room. And now we'll see if the Outlaws have what it takes to respond. The Titans need to get the point soon. Final 6 seconds left here on the clock. Linkser under pressure, back up to his perch. Looking for the pickoff. Puts Car. Low HP, does not finish off just yet, but Dalton takes down Hydration, and now the Titans moving right back into the point. Both teams down to main tank, but hope is still alive for Vancouver.
Yeah, Shredlock does fall though, so that's your key hero that wants to be pressuring point. Now it's pretty much only KSA to do that. Car does pop the Amp Matrix. Dalton drops low though, and Dante wins the duel. Now Linkser in an open sideline. KSA doesn't have the health to contest.
The Outlaws are winning the fights they need to win here. The Titans running out of HP, running out of players, and even with Meko being demech, that's not enough. However, there is one very slight saving grace here for the Titans, is that they did get progress on the point. So we're not necessarily running into a drawable situation. I don't think it's super likely, that Vancouver ends up holding up point A for almost 5 minutes, but it is winnable in the most technical sense of the term.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be, I would say, a pretty big fumble by the Outlaws to fail to get 58% on point A with this much time on the clock. 4:41, massive, massive time bank to work with. As well, I think, you know, if you're the Vancouver Titans, you continue to run this Rhine-based style, I think you're in for a world of hurt here. You need to run a comp that can compete with map control for this Winston D.Va. I think when it comes to point A on Volskaya Industries, if you're the less mobile team, you're just always going to be behind in generating ults. You know, we've seen Shredlock pretty much just standing on point, but that's like, what else can he do? He's playing Reinhardt against 6 heroes that are highly mobile. They're going to stay away from him, play on the high grounds that surround the point. So if at any moment the Outlaws get that high ground surround on point, it's just a matter of time before the Vancouver Titans crumble there. So Shredlock and KSA, last time they invested all their resources in holding close with the choke, which I think might be the way they have to play, playing the Reinhardt-based composition, but I think it's going to make things very, very difficult for them to win the round. One ultimate cycle, one big opening, and it's going to be all over. It's going to be all the Houston Outlaws going to be potentially going up 2-0 in the series.
So, the Outlaws, they don't have far to go here. They have a lot of time to do it. Vancouver going to be looking for one of the greatest holds in Volskaya history, which this would be if they somehow turned this one around. Linkser over the top looking for the Ashe. And just note here, any pickoff here for the Outlaws is devastating for the Titans.
Yeah, the Outlaws are just poking, just charging ultimates. That's a big pickoff onto Hydration, though. Hydration really wanted to escape with his life and build up some healer ult, so denying that is a big swing for the Vancouver Titans. That's exactly the sort of quick pickoff they need to keep this ultimate charge in contention, but the Outlaws, they're not giving up position just yet, still farming ultimates.
The Outlaws, they know they can slow play this. They can wait until they have ultimate economy advantage, or you just get a pickoff like that. Repel finds Suna so early in the fight, and now they work their way on in. A 6-on-5. They don't have to worry about nearly as much in the way of poke damage. That means Hydration and Meko can be far more aggressive as they move on in. And this is very tough now for the Titans, unless they equalize. Rolf ends up falling, and that's going to be it. The Outlaws taking Volskaya away from the Titans. And now, you have to be considering, is this going to be a sweep?
Yeah, you know, I just feel like the Titans' strategy is not effective here. Close holding the choke against an Echo. The moment a player drops below half, Dante charges in with that focusing beam and burns down 2 players for his trouble. So Outlaws, clean sweep there. Easy map 2, you know, maybe a bit of a stumble, you might say, but I think they were in control of that map from start to finish. We can't really call that a close one.
No, it wasn't, and I think credit to the Outlaws here, where they're looking better than we've really seen in quite a while. You think back to the standings page for the May Melee that's coming up. The Outlaws were at the very bottom because they just haven't been playing very well recently, but they look far more composed here, even though, let's be fair, Vancouver, they are a team essentially of rookies that are still finding their way. You still gotta give credit to Houston for how they've played here so far.
Yeah, you know, we saw some good moments from Vancouver. We saw some, you know, personal pop-offs, some strong individual performances. But I feel like it was their team play that was lacking. It's sort of what we'd expect from a new team, but, you know, we were hoping Vancouver would defy those expectations. We were hoping they could perform at a higher level. But so far, it really felt like their strategies, like, I just didn't see how they were putting themselves in an advantageous fight. You know, with that first offense, Shredlock pretty much just walking onto point and hoping that his DPS find a pickoff. But like, there's no real value generation plan there. There's no pressure put on the opponents other than the hit scan duel. And Linkser's playing Widow against an Ashe at long range. Ashe has no damage boost. Like, I mean, you can't really fault Suna for that. Like, you know, how is he supposed to win that duel? But at the same time, Linkser has an advantage, and he capitalizes, crushes them with Widowmaker. And I think kind of the map fell apart from there when the time bank was decimated from that point A hold.
Well, if there's anything the Watchpoint desk loves talking about, it's main tank-related topics. I think with Hydration in the lineup, they have a lot to talk about. Let's hear what they have to say just after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renter's insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Game Break presented by Pringles Wavy. I am Zoe. Joining me are Costa and Reinforce, and the Houston Outlaws are currently up 2-0. However, I do feel like we did see some bright spots once more from the Vancouver Titans, so let's dissect that first game. Looking at map number 1, that was a one-sided affair. However, we did see some changes coming in from the Outlaws, which I would like you guys to discuss, mainly main tank changes. Hydration. We did expect him to play ball of some sort. However, his Reinhardt actually not too bad. Reinforce, were you impressed? Let's rephrase. Were you okay with it? Not angry?
You know, I don't know what to say about it really. It looked okay at times. It looked pretty decent. I will say that. But it's hydration on main tank, right? You have to imagine that there are better options available. But if it works for the Houston Outlaws against the Vancouver Titans lineup that is struggling in my mind, I mean, you might as well, right? I wonder what this says about Muma. Is he still involved in the team, etc.? Like, there's a lot of questions that spark because of this sort of change-up where hydration plays main tank. But yeah, it looked kind of solid. It's just concerning in a way, I suppose. Like, it doesn't make me comfortable as an analyst thinking like, wow, I wonder why they play hydration on main tank. So yeah, he did look pretty decent, but still it raises some concerns in my mind. Yeah.
It's worrying signs. The thing that I will say that I've seen in this match is hydration seems a lot more, I would say, aggressive, but also coordinated with the rest of his team. We've seen so many great dives by hydration that's splitting off the rest of his team and really giving his team space, and he's willing to die and really willing to go aggressive to help his team win the map. So he's definitely not the best main tank we've ever seen, and I'm very shocked that we see him playing the Winston, playing the Reinhardt. As you said, that's such a hard role to just pick up in a short amount of time, but he's doing pretty well given the circumstances.
And if we're looking at the other side there, we did see Dalton picking up the Echo duty. How did you guys feel about that? Did you get the sense that he's actually comfortable on Echo?
Not really, no. I mean, I think the Vancouver Titans are in a really tough spot because the fact of the matter is they have 2 hit scan players, and now they're sort of forced to play this projectile role as well. So Dalton, you know, he had some picks and looked pretty decent at times. For example, when they secured point A on Volskaya initially, he looked involved and he looked pretty decent. But they're in a very tough situation here, the Vancouver Titans, and I can't really blame the players. It's sort of frustrating to watch as well because they have some talented players, but they don't really have this experience playing together, and they're still working to get their team synergy up. I can't imagine they had a great time trying to figure out what compositions to play this week even, because you need to start with building a foundation and building a base. And so when you play this Reinhardt Sigma compositions or Reinhardt D.Va composition, you sort of have to stick with that because you haven't really had a chance to play all of these kinds of different compositions with your new teammates. So in a very tough spot, and it's sort of upsetting to see a team struggle like this initially, but you can't really blame them given the circumstances.
Absolutely.
I do want to hit something real quick as well. Is like, I think a lot of the struggles from Dalton and for this team is they're not willing to adapt. We saw a little bit of adaptation with KSA onto the D.Va later into Volskaya, but they're just letting Linksa shoot for free in the backline. And if they don't deal with that issue, then they're just going to keep getting mowed down.
Yeah, and I mean, there was also, I felt for Dalton at some part in that series because it did feel like there was a lot of pressure onto him coming out from Linksa and Dante, who clearly identified him as the biggest threat of their team and shut him down completely. So he didn't get too much done. Now, of course, I want to present you with a crunch time presented by Pringles Wavy, and this time it was Dante, some really nifty echo play where he turned into Sigma.
Yeah.
Guys, take it away.
This was actually a sick play coming in from Dante, and it really helped the Houston Outlaws to secure point B on Volskaya. Jake let you guys know how much he really liked this play, and I agree. This was one of the sickest plays so far this match. Dante, of course, duplicating into the Sigma, and then cancelling KSA's Gravitic Flux with his own rock. So incredible play by Dante, and it helped secure point B for the Houston Outlaws. So this is the level of play we expected from Dante on the Echo. Very impressive stuff.
Yeah, it's just such a high impact play as well. I've actually seen him go for this multiple times. I feel like every time Dante sees a Sigma ult, he's going for it. So it's cool to see it actually connect because, you cancel their Gravitic Flux and then you're going to get another one as well. So just sick heads up play. And this helped them cap the second point, which is so hard to do. So big props to him.
Yeah, and how satisfying it must be if your duplicate actually gets so much value out of whatever you're duplicating and you hitting those CCs. So great play all around. However, we still have a second half to play. So let's see if the Vancouver Titans can bring this one back or if the Houston Outlaws will walk away with the W. All of that is going to happen on Rialto coming up next. So CP and Jake, take it away.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory.
And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
The Outlaws up 2-0 over Vancouver as we head out of the half. And so far, Jake, it's been a bit of a tough road for Vancouver.
Yeah, you know, I think there were a couple moments where Vancouver felt like they were starting to gain some steam. I would say like that second round of Busan seemed like that was a bit winnable for them, barring some minor mistakes. But, oof, man, Volskaya was brutal. Linkser coming alive. Shades of the old Dinkser back there on the Widowmaker. And the team, I think, seems to be having a lot more success as well with Hydration in the lineup. Overall, looking tighter and cleaner, despite the fact that Hydration making some individual mistakes. Feels like the overall team play is stronger, but, you know, still too soon to tell, I think, about that particular roster decision, given that the Vancouver Titans, they seem to be the ones beating themselves, I would say, this match.
Yeah, when you look at Vancouver, they've definitely been running some compositions that I think are a little bit questionable even before you get to execution-related issues. And they're up against a team where, what more can you say right now than welcome to the Overwatch League, right? Where you have a bunch of rookies and they're going up against a team of veterans. So you would expect to have some issues, both in consistency and just finding ways to take over a match.
Yeah, there's been some strategic choices from the Titans that I really question. You know, playing that Reinhardt Sigma, I don't think that composition is without merit on the offense of Volskaya Industries' first point. But I do think that if you're just going to walk onto point and pretty much just stand there with 2 shields, that sort of strategy is not going to work without an Orisa, right? You don't have a way to actually make plays. It's pretty much your DPS just finding a lucky pickoff. And I say lucky because they just don't have any tank play that is enabling them. The only thing the tanks are doing is pressuring point, and it's a 2CP first point, so the defenders don't care if you get a tick. They'll give up 2 if you want it. They'll let you get all the way to 99% before they're going to dive you and finish the fight. I just think you need to do a better job shutting down the game plan of your opponent. You can't just have a straightforward, let's walk in and shoot them game plan. You need to be putting pressure somehow on the enemy team's game plan, denying them their execution. But instead, it felt like the Outlaws, they were really free to surround and dive at their pleasure.
Well, next map we're heading into, it's going to be Rialto. And speaking of maps, we get to break out an old favorite here that we haven't had to say a whole lot this season, but we definitely do now with the May Melee tournament looming in the wings, where map score does matter. That's right. Even if Vancouver loses the entire series, it's very important for them to win at least one map here, Jake, because if they get swept, that locks them in to play that wildcard matchup.
Yeah, and they want to be, I mean, if they can, they need to be bringing back this series because, or getting maybe 2 map wins. You know, you got to take home whatever you can, but of course, you're right. It all starts here on Rialto. You lose here, it's a sweep, and you're going to that 12th, 13th place elimination match for sure as the Vancouver Titans, which, you know, just... Of course, we got to, you know, buy time for this roster. You know, they do have time to gel, you know, work together. But losses, they count just the same, you know. Like, from a fan perspective, yeah, you're going to cut them some slack, recognize they're still gelling as a team. We need time to see their full potential. But whether, you know, you need that time or not, these losses are racking up against your record just the same. And you're going to go into that May tournament, and if you can't turn it around by then, by that elimination match, then you're going to completely miss out on those bonus wins. Other teams pulling farther and farther ahead. So Titans, they've got to stem the bleeding sometime. Why not now? But going up against Linkser in form on a map that I think is going to highly enable his Widowmaker play potentially, going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder here what halftime adjustments that could be made for Vancouver, because it's been tough so far. They've generally been outclassed in just about every facet of gameplay, and one of the high points for them, and Dalton has kind of met his match with Linkser on the other side. It's been a very, very good series from Linkser so far, so Vancouver hasn't been able to rely on Dalton in a way that I think they would like to, in a way that a lot of these players did when they were teammates with him down in Contenders. It's difficult to break away and be the hero at Overwatch League level play.
Yeah, you know, and it's a new hero as well for the players. You know, this Echo seems like Dante is getting the better of it, but he also has a team that I think with that highly mobile style, with the Winston as well as the damage implication from Zenyatta's Discord Orb, both of those things I think are really going to play towards Dante's favor. Dalton has to work with pretty much only the Brig heals because Karkar needs to be on the Batiste to keep his you know, main tanks alive, keep that Reinhardt alive. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Outlaws can break this choke open, but I actually like the dive style here, attacking first. You don't have to really engage with the choke point that tends to be a real sticking point for a lot of the attacking teams here.
One problem here for Vancouver. Oh, Suna taken down immediately. Linkser picking up where he left off. And this matchup has been such a problem for Vancouver so far, and now they're just getting snowballed. They can't get away, and the Outlaws are just dominating. What more can you say?
This is a bad place to be. I mean, Rappel just holding W, frontlining down mid. Like, yeah, that's how you know you're in a bad situation. When the enemy's end just goes Jonak on you and starts walking down mid. Like, that's just pretty much worst case scenario.
Do I hear theme music?
Yeah, for real. Raid boss time. Oh my gosh, Links are so sharp. Almost picks off a Brig there. That would have been pretty much first point in the bag. Outlaw's going to slow down a bit, though. Hydration and Meko did get picked off towards the end of the fight. They're going to have to roll out, so there is an opportunity here for the Titans to get back in the fight. But Dante on the flank.
Dante off, looking for the pickoff. Gets Suna! Suna is just the first pickoff of choice. Now Dante clones the Sigma in the back. Tanky, going to lose the clone pretty early, but it's still decent disruption. Can't get away, though. KSA able to find room to work with. Hydration, late Primal Rage. The Outlaws still trying to bring this one in here and now. They might just do it, but it's a little bit sloppy.
Yeah, it cost them a few ultimates, but I don't think they're too mad at this. I mean, still pretty much a solid point A take. trying to keep the Sigma alive is Rolf. KSA alive just by the skin of his teeth, but I think that's all the armor packs expended. Hydration, though, doesn't have the DPS support. Gonna like to back off, but massive ultimate charge here in favor of Linkser on the Bob, but no Ana, remember, on the side of the Vancouver Titans, so you've got no straightforward counter, I think, to this Bob play. And with the Rally and Transcendence also online for the Outlaws, if they win this fight and the card gets a little too far forward, it's going to be last fight territory at second point.
The Outlaws looking to keep the momentum going forward. Repel, Transcendence, in response to the Titans trying to find anything here early on. Dalton, Clove, back, Primal Rage. Again, heavy disruption, but is it going to be enough to take Linkser out of the fight? Linkser stuck in the corner, but still decent HP, has good support. Is able to get away. The Outlaws, though, Dalton, they're going to be able to get momentum now in point B.
And Hydration with another quick charge on this Primal Rage, doing a great job in this fight, and the distraction is making Dante tons of space, and he's working with it very effectively. That's his third pickoff in this fight, and he's not satisfied with that. Picks up a fourth and a fifth. It's all Dante in the kill feed. Mecha with the cleanup. Wow, Outlaws just snowballing through second point. And with the tanks dropping so late, this contest is going to be a little bit awkward here for the Vancouver Titans.
That wasn't even a normal team fight we just saw. That was the Outlaws regrouping and Dante just getting one free pickoff after the other. Vancouver, you can't let that happen. You just have to regroup. You cannot let one player outplay you like that, where it's good play by Dante, but it never should have happened.
Yeah, and what's really brutal here is that another pickoff. I was going to say ultimate advantage for the Outlaws, but they have multiple advantages now. Pickoff as well. This should be a relatively clean fight for them. Shredlock strikes back, but I don't think there's follow-up for that Shatter.
No, it's not there. And look, we've hit the point here where the spawn room is going to start charging Suna rent because he's there far too often. He's squatting in the spawn room. The Outlaws are picking off Suna so early, so often, that it's just nothing but brutality.
Yeah, and that fight was so explosive in favor of the Outlaws that, you know, Vancouver Titans, they charged pretty much no ults at all. So Repel with the Transcendence, Mecha with the Self-Destruct. This fight seems all but over here for the Vancouver Titans. An early trance, though, forced on Repel. That's great for the Titans. Gives them a chance, but how do they survive this Self-Destruct?
Well, Self-Destruct's in the back. It takes down Karkar. KSA going to look for the Flux of the Legends here. Anything to keep Vancouver in the fight. Hydration's out of it. Flux over. KSA falls mid-Flux. And the Outlaws just far too strong on the point, dominating Vancouver. And this is a speed run on Rialto, a map that you don't always see this sort of time being set on. So what more can you say? Brutal for Vancouver.
ZP, we're not on camera right now, but if the viewers could see my face, I'm in pain here. You know, I'm an Outlaws fan. I'm as biased as any caster possibly could be, but at the same time, I'm hurting for the Titans. They just got destroyed. 346 on Rialto. This is where you type GG, go next in your ranked games, man. Like, this is almost unwinnable. I mean, theoretically, you can come back from this, but this is like, I don't know if this is a world record for the Outlaws in terms of offense times on Rialto, but, you know, I have no problem just asserting that this is like a top 5%, top 1% sort of finish on Rialto attack. If the Vancouver Titans can match this and come back in this map, they're going to have my utmost respect as far as mental fortitude goes, but I don't see any way for them back into this series.
So we do have an update from our stats team, and it is the 4th fastest push on Rialto, so top 5.
Yeah,
that we just saw there.
Yeah, and it felt like it, right? Like, when was there ever a moment where the Outlaws lost a fight? I mean, there's a couple moments where they couldn't keep pushing the card, had to wait to regroup, but never once did they get wiped. Never once did they lose map control and positioning on a map that I would say is strongly defender favored. So I just feel like this Reinhardt composition is getting completely stymied here for the Vancouver Titans. They're sticking to it. At least this time they're going to run the Zen BAP. I do think that is a smart decision. You have to play to your advantage. If you're going to play this Reinhardt, you have to play really greedy heroes behind it. But Jex is getting so much value on this Brig that I'm not sure it's going to work out for them.
No, it's difficult. And also, you talk about Houston being in good spirits. When you get to the point that you're just global chatting in the middle of the game, just having fun, mocking your teammates for going a little bit too far forward, that means your morale's pretty high because you're doing well. Dalton, I don't blame Dalton at this point, though. I think Dalton is trying to just make plays out of the box. He's taking risks. It's just not paying off.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real problem for Dalton is that, yes, he's got the Zenyatta Orb to pocket him and keep him alive, but he's going against Dante, who's got both the Pocket Orb and Armor Packs from Jexa, 2 very effective ways to heal this highly mobile Echo hero. So, you know, Dante has a big edge in the duel, and it's Dalton that's like playing into that as if he has the edge. So I feel like Dalton you know, I think he is caught between a rock and a hard place in this. He's got to make plays, but he's playing against a composition that is just much more suited to supporting an Echo.
Yeah, and for the Titans, it's so difficult now. 2 minutes, 52 seconds left. Dalton just gets evaporated by Dante, and nothing is working for Vancouver. It's nothing but green in the kill feed, and it feels like Vancouver is getting more and more discombobulated the longer this goes on.
Dante, you're in their spawn. Stop, have some mercy. Dante's not interested, though. Just charging up his ultimate. It's easy peasy for the Outlaws here. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a full hold and just end the series right here.
So, if the Outlaws win, this is where I could share some secret intel. The Outlaws have built an interview room that very likely will be Dante, and you know who built that interview room? That's right, Cool Matt, the one and only, the legend, now building rooms. So when you see that interview room, just know who built it, the man himself.
D.Va extraordinaire, Team USA alumni, but it's the Houston Outlaws here with a absolutely massive ultimate charge. Players in the server pretty much dominating right now. Linkster with the Bob, no clear counter, I think, on the attack side. Karkar is going to use the Amp Matrix, but Houston just respects it. Pop Trance, that's a big pick, though. Dalton onto Dante, gives him an opening.
Finally, a sign of life from Vancouver, but as I say that, now both teams down Echo. Vancouver, gotta drop the Transcendence, trying anything to keep this fight going. Hydration, Primal Rage in the back, Karkar getting caught. Both Meko and Hydration going deep as the front line of the Outlaws. Now, a little bit too deep, I'd say, for Hydration. Ends up getting caught, but the Titans aren't actually moving anything forward here, as there's only a minute 20 left.
Jackson just went 1v4 in a small room against a Reinhardt. Rig taking over the spot as the melee king, somehow just rolling through the Titans in that position. I guess I just didn't have the heals to sustain, but these fights are so awkward for the Vancouver Titans. Finally, Dalton gets an opening on a Dante, but he's immediately shut down in return, and very awkward plays. Again, Dalton dropping. I mean, yeah, you're saying he's trying to make plays, but this is just feeding at this point. He's not getting anything done. He's just getting chain picked. I mean, he's gotten one good opening, and when he did, he was quickly traded. So Dalton, I think either the team needs to play heroes that enable him better, or he needs to play a more passive style. He can't keep going in and dying like this.
I mean, maybe don't hold down W 100% of the time. Maybe just chalk that down to 95%, 90%, give your time a little bit of room to not dive in. I don't know. It's so tough. Nothing is working for Vancouver. They're just running into a brick wall courtesy of Houston, and they're not on the same page. The Outlaws are not being forced to make plays. They're just taking advantage of mistakes that Vancouver is making. Dalton again going for the hero play in the back, clones the D.Va. Last chance here for the Titans. Asuna falls immediately. Both teams down Ash, but there's Dante, the cloned Rhine Shatter, and goes to the air, finishes off Shredlock. The Outlaws looking to put this one away. Final 5 seconds left in Rialto. Point A yet to be capped by Vancouver, and right now looking like it's not going to be capped, not even a little bit.
Yeah, once again, Dante dominating the duel.
This is brutal. This is one of the most one-sided rounds of Overwatch I think we've casted all year long, and honestly, ever. This has been tough.
Yeah, Outlaws just looking really sharp, looking on form, and Titans, we had hoped that this might be a week for them to sort of find their footing and continue to regroup, continue to play together as a team, but I just completely did not come together for them this week. They look uncoordinated, individually, overextending, and the Outlaws just completely punished them, and there just was a turning point, I think, in this series where the Outlaws just completely stopped respecting the Titans, and that's a really rough place to be as a team when you know that the other team's just going for solo plays constantly, Dante permanently flanking you in the back line, and you're trying to play this Rhine-based style that is all about controlling the engagement and playing for value, grinding the game out, and the Outlaws just aren't playing into your hands. They're completely surrounding you, poking you from all sides, and just somehow getting way more efficiency as individuals than you can as a unit. Really, really rough match here for the Titans. Outlaws, though, props to them, looking clean, dominating a weaker team here, and potentially setting themselves up for a bit of a turnaround here in this May Melee.
I think when I look at this last match, I think there was a point where you say Houston stopped respecting Vancouver. I think Vancouver stopped respecting Vancouver because you look at that Rialto attack. They stopped resetting for big fights. That was just one gigantic, everlasting fight with DPS members of Vancouver being put on the ground, with Shredlock being stuck out of position. There was never a clear, okay, they're resetting, what's going to happen next? No, it was just getting chain staggered, and okay, Houston was playing well, but so much of that landed back on Vancouver. It's a team that has not found its footing just yet.
Yeah, and I feel strategically that I just don't like the composition they're playing. I think they're putting themselves in a disadvantageous matchup, and that's why Houston pretty much didn't make any swaps in their comp throughout, I think, the entire series. I think they played, what, all 3 maps without any comp swaps? I mean, Linkser played Widowmaker, then he played McCree, then he played Ashe. And then pretty much no other swaps, like the rest of the series. That's not Overwatch League caliber play, frankly. I mean, if you're just, they're in, I think, a bad matchup where the dive team is just supporting their Echo way more effectively, naturally, because they're highly mobile heroes. They've got the Brig and the Zen, so double pocket on your Echo, way more support for her. This Batiste and the Rhine, they're just not keeping up in the value game, and didn't really feel like there was ever a moment where their composition was better, ever a moment where they were getting more value, and they just never swapped. So a bit of blind loyalty to the composition they practice, just going completely all in on that. Which is a mark of inexperience. They're trying to just stick with what they practice, try and work with what they've got, because they haven't practiced many alternate compositions. But just feel like that was pretty brutal. Like, I mean, I switch to the dive, maybe take the mirror match. I think that is like a safe backup as a team. If you're getting just rolled strategically, just take the mirror match and hope for the best. Somehow try and play your way out of it. They didn't really do any of that. Just dead in the water here for the Titans.
And what this means for Vancouver going forward is that they have now guaranteed themselves a spot in the play-in match. A bad thing here. Normally you go, oh, a team's guaranteed. No, this is bad, where they might not get into the tournament at all. They're going to have to fight the other lower-seeded team just to decide if they get a chance to be in the Melee. So losing this really does matter quite a bit for Vancouver. Meanwhile, winning for Houston, a very big deal. It means that they don't have to finish in the latter part of the standings. I don't know if it means they'll be able to get to choose their opponent, but at the very least, they're not going to be dead last.
Yeah, they're going to be able to avoid that play-in match, one would hope. And, getting a solid 3-0 there, that's what we said time and time again. It's one thing just to beat a weaker team, to get the win on the board. That's almost a necessity, I would say, to break your way into those upper table standings. But you really want to be a team that locks in the 3-0 and looks consistent all the way through. You don't want to be a team that steps off the gas, lets your opponents come back into the series, playing awkwardly there in the closer map. But the Outlaws, it was exactly the opposite. I felt like they were just gaining momentum map after map after map. I think Rialto was the biggest stomp of the entire series. So, and it really was that gradient. Starting on the control map looked a little bit good for Vancouver, and then just getting worse and worse from there as the Outlaws picked up steam, worked together more effectively as a team. And this new look with Hydration on the main tank, I was questioning it. I was uncertain. I thought maybe he's going to be limited to more of the niche off-tank roles, but I was completely wrong. Hydration having a solid game there on the Winston. He's not going for massive plays, but he doesn't need to. He's playing, he's doing what his team needs him to do, which is, mostly just frontlining, playing the value game, using the Primal to disrupt. He's not going to be like that superstar maximum mechanics. I've played main tank for 4 years, but at the same time, he's working well with the team, and it's getting them results. Can't argue with that.
Well, one thing you also can't argue with, having a big resurgence here today. Our player of the match, Linkser, and you called it, Jake, midway through. We talked about it during the break. This is a very, very good game for Linkser.
Yeah, and especially Volskaya, I think back even to the very, very start of the match, that opening pick onto Rolf with, a Winston, a D.Va, and an Echo all diving him simultaneously, and somehow he comes up with the Zen frag. That's incredible play there. Calm under pressure, gets the execution, and that's a total difference maker, right? Because if Houston don't get that pick off, they very easily could lose mid. With Rolf just casting Discord freely, probably not going to be able to get chased down by that team with the Reinhardt. So the Outlaws just looking way more effective there, and Linkser as an individual kind of returning to form. We've seen him play at that level before. A lot of people had questioned whether he'd be able to return to that again, but I feel like doubters gotta be a bit silent right now. Gotta be seeing that performance, especially on Volskaya. Huge shots to just stifle that first attack from Vancouver, taking the entire time bank away from them before they were able to move on towards capturing that second point.
Yeah, you have a performance as good as he did too. It also just put Suna in the graveyard repeatedly, where he was winning that matchup so often that Houston, they very rarely ever had to take a full 6-on-6 fight. They were just dominant pretty much the whole way through, and it comes down to the idea that you can have whatever ult economy you want, you can have whatever grand plans you want to enact, but if you're going into the average fight down a player, which Vancouver was doing far more often than not, it's just not going to be a map nor a series that you're going to win.
Yeah, and that's a real welcome to the Overwatch League moment, right? Playing against an experienced Widowmaker and a team that knows how to utilize the Infrasight as a unit. Just so many moments where the fights were pretty much opened by Linkser with the Infrasight. He finds a pickoff, and then not only the Titans lose the fight, but it takes them 30-40 seconds to actually all get picked off. Houston has the other 5 ultimates ready, Infrasight at 50%. It's a brutal situation to be in, so props to Linkser playing really, really well this series on the Widowmaker, on the Ashe, looking really sharp on that hit scan roll, showing that Houston still has a lot of different looks they can bring with their very DPS lineup.
Now, right now, we're just waiting for our interview to set up, and you know what? The wait is actually over. We got Zoe with Dante.
CP and Jake, and welcome Dante. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I assume so are you. That was a little resistance earlier in the series, but towards the end, I honestly expected you to start paying rent as you moved into their spawn room. Did this all go as expected? Was that what you thought the match against the Titans is going to look like?
We were ready to expect anything. We knew they were generally new roster though, like they had to. Their whole team couldn't compete because, or all of Second Wind could not compete because some of them were underage and then some of them didn't get approved. So we knew that they had to make some like last minute adjustments. I think they started practicing like a week and a half ago, right before their old game or something, their last week's match. So they have people in various countries right now. Some of them have like 200 ping, so it kind of feels hard. I'm assuming the reason why they played D.Va was because Sigma probably just felt really bad on 200 plus ping, but I'm not completely sure why.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely some circumstances which are kind of out of their hands there, which unfortunately do impact their performances. Now, speaking about your performance and your team, we did see some moving pieces there as well. One I want to ask you about is we saw Blase, I think, last week, also sharing that Echo duty. Now, today you picked it up, although I do believe last week you played it also. Is that just going to be back and forth depending on what's needed, or are you guys still figuring out who's going to predominantly play her?
I don't really make this decision, or I can't really tell you because it's the coach's decision. But the reason last week that we played sometimes me Echo and sometimes him, it just depended what the other DPS was. If we played Echo Tracer, which was on Koth, I would play the Tracer obviously, and he would play Echo. But then if we do Echo plus hit scan, then it's like me and Linkser. But if it would be Echo Doomfist, then it'd probably be me and Blase. It just depends on what we want to play the whole map.
All right, a little bit of an internal chess game there. But how fantastic to have two players who can play her on such a high level. We also saw something a little different today with Hydration picking up the main tank. Was that also just on the coaches, or do we have to fill out wanted posters for the whereabouts of Muma?
I think it was like a coach's decision, obviously, but I don't like know exactly. Like I don't want to put coaches or words in our coach's mouth, so I'm not really gonna talk about that too much.
That's
because
fair,
like I don't know like the full reasoning, but yeah.
Well, yeah, don't worry about it. Now, in terms of the game plan coming into this, we saw a lot of pressure coming onto Dalton. Was he kind of the player you guys wanted to focus on? We saw a lot of bullying from Linkser and you towards his direction.
I think it's just very hard to play Echo in losing games. Like I've been there when we were against Shock. It just felt basically impossible to play the hero. Like everywhere you go, you just die. Like you play on the ground, you just die. You play in the air, you just die. So Echo's really hard when the match is like not going in your favor. So I feel for him in that regard. We didn't really have any plans to focus him, but it's just kind of hard to play Echo when the game is like that.
Fair enough. Well, that's it already. I let you go ahead and enjoy your victory. Also, I really love your backdrop. It's very neat. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you so much. We're now heading into a very quick break, and afterwards we will be back with the second game of the day, which of course is going to be the Florida Mayhem and the Washington Justice.